Hello, social media friends. I'm Viridiana Marquez with DRB Media Communications Digital News, and Danny Barrera has the story.
Don Weeks, pastor at Connection Christian Church in Odessa, is a breast cancer survivor. Pastor Weeks describes her journey from her cancer diagnosis to recovery from breast cancer.
When I was little, I had a cousin who had breast cancer. And all I remember about that is going to see her in the hospital, and everyone was very sad because she had 3 children who eventually were left without their mother because she succumbed to breast cancer. And I remember the story being that she should have gone to the doctor earlier. She should have had herself checked earlier, but she waited till it was too late. So as soon as I hit 40, when you're supposed to get your mammogram, I was on it, getting that mammogram, just because of that story in my family's history. But I never expected that I would ever have it. I just knew I wanted to be sooner rather than later finding it. Well, sure enough, after my annual mammogram, when I was 44 years old, they would make that call that you never want to hear. There's something suspicious. We need to do a biopsy. So I went in for the biopsy, and I remember there was a nurse there who held my hand through the whole biopsy because it is a very uncomfortable procedure most of the time. She was there for me, and she held my hand, and I knew it was going to be okay no matter what they said, because people were going to be there for me. God would be there for me. But sure enough, it was the big C, and that is just the worst thing to hear. Because you think, oh no, cancer, it's the worst that can happen to you, you know. It used to be, for those of us that are, 40 and up, cancer used to sound like a death sentence, Nowadays, hopefully kids are growing up knowing that, gosh, if you find it early and treat it, life can be fine again. And that was certainly my case, but at first it was pretty scary. I remember I went into the doctor's office, they call and say, we've got your results, we want you to come in. Well, they never say that if it's good news. We want you to come in so we can give you the good news in person, right? So I was preparing myself, driving to the doctor's office, and sure enough, I got in there, and the doctor met with me, and she had an intern in there with her. So I remember thinking to myself, I'm not going to cry because this poor med student is trying to learn, and I want to be strong for them. Also, my doctor knows I'm a pastor in the community, so I didn't want to, just blubber. I wanted to be a strong witness. But of course, as soon as I got home and told my husband the news, it was just the waterworks because it sounds so scary. But what really the situation was is that because of my annual mammogram, they had found a teeny tiny tumor in my breast, something that they could easily deal with. I had all these thoughts in my mind that, oh great, now I'm going to have to, get a complete mastectomy. I'm going to have to go through all of this. But when I met with the surgeon, he said, you don't really have to have a mastectomy. You can have a lumpectomy. We can get this out. You'll go through radiation. You might not even need chemo. So the more I learned, the more I realized that information is power. And a lot of times women don't get their mammogram because they are afraid of knowing. But the thing is, the more I knew, the better I felt. The more I understood that this was something that was completely treatable if it's caught early. And that's the good news about breast cancer today. 1 in 8 American women will be diagnosed with breast cancer in their lifetime, but if they get it diagnosed early enough, life can go on. So I had my surgery, immediately had 30 days of radiation, and then I was on a cancer fighting drug for 5 years. Last year in October, I got off that drug and said goodbye to even having to do anything other than just an annual checkup. So it's in my rearview mirror now, and I am so grateful.
Pastor Dawn Weeks told her husband of the cancer diagnosis, but was very concerned how her children would react to the devastating news.
Telling our kids, who at that time were 12 and 13 years old, that was the hard part. I wanted them to understand that it was serious, but I also did not want them to be afraid. And so I waited until I had all the information about what my treatment was going to be before I told them, because I wanted them, again, to have information that reduced fear.
Pink the Basin, a nonprofit organization, provides various services to men and women through funding to partnering hospitals.
Something like only 25% of women in our community get their annual mammogram. It is really alarming. And a lot of that is a lack of access to health care, a lack of knowledge about what the mammogram is. And I think they don't realize that if you'll get it done, you are actually in control rather than waiting and then you're out of control because you've waited too long. So I really hope that women and the men who care about women will make sure this happens for them. Also, Pink the Basin, a lot of communities don't have this luxury. Pink the Basin will pay for your mammogram if you don't have insurance. There's really not an excuse, except that you just aren't doing the self-care that you need and your family needs for you to do so you can stay with them. You know, when I got diagnosed, my prayer to the Lord was, Lord, let me see my kids graduate from high school. Well, I've got one in college now, and I've got one graduating this year, and I've got a whole lot of years ahead of me. Mine was found so early that there's a 95% chance that it will never come back. That is amazing, and I want every woman to have that kind of reassurance.
For more information, contact Pink the Basin at pinkthebasin.com. For DRB Media Communications Digital News, Danny Barrera.
Thank you for following us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and at DRB Media Communications Digital News.tv. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, DRB Media Communications Digital News. Click the subscribe button and the bell for notifications. For DRB Media Communications Digital News, Viridiana Marquez.